welcome back to my channel. So today we're filming the last installment of the journaling prompt series, but also it's going to be a little bit different today, because what are we doing today?
Picking up a puppy.
We're picking up a puppy! So we're in Canada right now, on the way to the airport, and yeah, from there we're going to be flying back to Boston, then to Ohio to pick up our new puppy. So we're gonna take you along on the road trip to get the new baby Bonnie. So we'll see you soon in the other car in the other country. Picked up the rental car from Ohio, so we're on our way now to go to the house where Bonnie is staying right now. We're gonna pick her up and then we're gonna start the drive back. So next time I see you, I will have a puppy, and hopefully that'll be a little bit lighter out.
Bonnie!
Yeah, so this is the last one of that litter, and our little daughter, she almost cried, but he's good.
Oh no. She's so cute.
She can FaceTime anytime.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, so she's very played with a lot, but she's very friendly.
Yeah. Because even seeing from the short video, like she jumped straight up there. I was like, she's been loved.
Yeah, she is.
And she likes to play and everything.
Good morning, my sweet girl. Come on. Come here, sweet girl. Going for a little morning walkies. Did she?
She was doing her squat. I just couldn't see it because the floor is wet.
Did you?
She was doing her thing. She doesn't really. I'm used to the man dogs for Legos, so she's just doing her.
Did you do a pee-pee? Where was it? So we're almost home, right, Bonnie? It's been a long, long drive. Yeah, hasn't it, baby? But we're almost home. Almost back to Boston. And she's been such a good girl in the car, haven't you? Been a good girl in the car? Yeah. The best girl.
They'll be etched so deeply
Oh, you couldn't
that there'll
wait
be
9
no way
minutes.
to ever
Oh, yes.
forget.
King Daddy's ears.
I'm asking you to make a very small investment of your time. One day.
Yes.
That's all.
Oh,
Understand?
oh, you're
I'm
tickling.
not asking you
Oh,
to
my
give that day
gosh.
to me.
You've been waiting to do that for the last 12 hours. I know you have.
Invest in your day,
Oh,
conquer
yeah.
your mind, and
Oh,
unlock
easy,
your best
easy.
life.
Daddy driving.
The
Okay.
12 hours.
The little foot's going. Do you like that spot, Bonnie? Yes, you do. You're the best. Mommy loves you, yes she does. It's Mommy's journal, it's not a chew toy, huh? Not a chew toy. No. We'll put that back here for now. Bunny, you can't have coffee. You nut. You nutter. All right, everyone, welcome. We made it back, and we have a puppy who desperately wants some of Mommy's coffee. You don't need any caffeine. You're already mental. Hello. All right, we're gonna try this without the coffee because I just don't think it was ever gonna happen. So there's a couple of topics I wanted to talk about for today's journaling prompts. If you're new to the series and you haven't checked out the original video where I talk about how I break down my journal and kind of the whole aim of this mini series, I'll link it right here so you can check that out. But today there's a few things I wanted to talk about, all surrounding the encompassing theme of presence. So you might be wondering, how does this relate to you getting a puppy? It actually does. So a big part of why I decided to get the dog is because this year there was a lot of loss between the two of us, and there was a lot of grieving happening this year. And in those moments, it was a lot easier in many cases to just check out rather than actually be in the present moment. And something I find about animals, you're gonna fall off the couch, my darling. Come up here. Something I find about animals is that they have this very special way of bringing you into a very present moment. You can't look into the eyes of a puppy and not be fully in that moment right there with them. There's something about them that just draws you in and really makes all the other distractions kind of external to that one experience. So through this period of grief where I was often turning to social media to kind of take myself out of what I was feeling, as well as just not taking care of myself, those were the two major reasons that we kind of thought, if we have an animal that's, taking up our attention, we can kind of hone in our attention on that and turn it into something positive rather than using all of these methods of distracting ourselves. And also, the days that I don't really feel like getting out of bed, now I have to because I have a dog. So a few little subtopics underneath of that are going to go along with today's journal prompts are this idea of where do we go if we're not in the present? We either go to the past or we go to the future. So I have these two concepts to talk about today, which is anticipation anxiety and also toxic nostalgia, which is kind of like this phrase that I've coined for when I kind of find myself going into the past and trying to go to a time where I was younger and I felt like I had everything ahead of me and maybe I could have done things differently. Or maybe I'm longing for a time where I felt like I was younger and I just had more opportunity to grow from there. And sometimes that comes in the form of hanging on to relationships too long where it's not being reciprocated in the way that it should be, and you're just clinging on to friendships or relationships that are probably long expired. It could come in the form of just missing a time when you were younger or feeling like you wish you could go back and do something differently, or even just experience being younger again. And most recently, it's been manifesting itself in me wishing I could go back to a time where there was more people that were still around. And then on the flip side of that, it's very easy to try and look ahead and say, oh, I can't wait until I'm this person, or I can't wait until I go to this place or do this thing, and live a life where you're always just longing for the next thing and not just being satisfied with where you're at. So you may fall into one of those categories, or you may fall into both sometimes. So today, the prompts I have for you are all kind of centered around this idea of presence and how we can bring more of that into our lives. For me, it was getting this sweet girl right here. Isn't that right, Mommy? You want to help Mommy read the prompts? Yeah, let's read some journal prompts. All right, so prompt number 1 I have is write about a time when you felt entirely present. So you can think to a time, maybe it was you were meditating, maybe it was you were out in nature, or maybe it was with somebody that was really special to you and you just felt really in the moment and you felt aware and you felt happy and content. So prompt number 2 I have is, how can you find presence in your interactions with others? So sometimes I'll have this issue where if I'm talking to a person, I'm really trying to be engaged with what they're saying. And for me, my way of being engaged with what somebody is saying is to really try to relate to them and say something back to them. And sometimes when I'm starting to formulate what I want to say in response to them, it takes away from me listening to them in that moment. So I'm trying to engage with this person, but I get so caught up in trying to relate to them in the form of communicating something back to them that I'm thinking more about what I'm about to say to them than what they're actually saying to me in that moment. So maybe you find yourself doing the same thing, or maybe you want to write about a different experience that comes up for you when you read this prompt. All right, next prompt I have for you is, what can you bring to your life that will encourage you to be more present? All right, next prompt I have for you is there anything you are avoiding that is causing you to be distracted? So by this prompt, I mean similar to what I was saying earlier about I would go to social media to kind of curb the feelings of sadness I was having or feelings of loneliness I was having. And in actuality, by going to social media to distract myself from the thing that I was avoiding was also distracting me from a lot of other things. So it was distracting me from things that I was doing that could have been making me happy instead of just numbing and trying to avoid this feeling that I was feeling. Because sometimes it can be really difficult to be in the present moment. This isn't always going to be a euphoric experience, but also you have to consider that if you don't ever feel the lows and the sadness and all of those emotions, the highs are not going to feel as good as they could because you have nothing to compare them to. You're altering that scale. If you try to avoid the lowest of lows, you're also not going to experience the highest of highs in comparison. All right, next prompt we have is, do you often find yourself slipping into a toxic nostalgia mindset? So you might find yourself longing for the past, longing for those relationships that are maybe long gone and maybe for good reason. Or you might be regretting a decision you made or thinking you took the wrong steps. But at the end of the day, you just have to trust that you made the decision you were supposed to make. And you have to be content with that and try and move forward because you did, in fact, make that decision. And there's not anything that you can do to change it now. All right, next prompt I have is, do you get anxious when you are anticipating? And this can be positive or negative. So there have been times where I've had this in a negative sense. Maybe I'm preparing for a big test, or maybe I'm late to work and am kind of worried about what my boss might say when I get there. So that would be the negative end of things, and you might experience a very negative anxiety surrounding that. But you can also experience this anxious feeling when you're anticipating something positive. So oftentimes when I'm really, really excited for something and I'm getting closer and closer to it, within a few hours, like for example, when we were driving to get Bonnie, I was really, really anxious, and I was obviously really excited to meet her, but I think it was something about the time getting so close. And sometimes there's this anxiety that comes up for me when I'm anticipating something really exciting, and the closer I get, I've been anticipating it for so long, and I get this kind of nagging gut feeling that what if something happens and I can't fulfill this event that I was so excited for? Maybe something's gonna happen. Like when we were driving the car to pick up Bonnie, I was thinking, what if something bad happens and I don't get to her, and I've been so excited to meet her and then I never get to experience that. So you may experience anxiety surrounding even positive things that you're anticipating. So you can take a bit to write about that. You can even divide it into two categories and list some times that you were anxious over something and it was a negative event that you were anxious about, and you can list some times where it was something positive. So you can really make that one your own. You may not have experienced both of those feelings, and you might just want to write about one. The last prompt that I have for you is, what emotions come up for you when your full attention is in the moment? So again, this can be something positive or it can be negative. Maybe you're not very comfortable being completely in the moment, and maybe that's something you can work on or figure out what it is that triggers you in those moments when you're just in the present with yourself. What is it about that makes you feel uncomfortable? Or maybe it feels really euphoric and you kind of feel like you get into this flow state or this kind of meditative state. So, excuse you. Bonnie! You really just ate that! You really just ate that whole corner. Well, my journal's got some extra character now, doesn't it? Huh. All right, so that's a wrap, I guess. That's where we're gonna finish that off. You little stinker. Thank you everyone for watching, and if you liked this video and you want to see more of Bonnie, I know you don't want to see more of me, you're definitely here for her. You can subscribe to the channel, and please do like this video, and I'll see you very soon.